Hello and welcome to this mini-series on signs of the Lord's return. Now, I know there's a lot of varied voices out there, confusion, conflicting ideas, so I thought I would start this part of the series on the Lord's return that has to do with signs of his coming with some things that we can know with an absolute assurance, because there are certainly four, probably a whole lot more, but four I want to talk about in this little episode. Of things that are beyond dispute. And that there are two pairs. The first pair is that we can know with an absolute assurance that Jesus is coming back. He's told us that repeatedly in Scripture. The apostles talked about his return. They talked with him about his return. So if you're out there wondering, is Jesus going to come back? You can know with an absolute assurance that he's going to. In fact, the next to the last verse in the Bible is Jesus saying as his final words to us, "Surely I'm coming quickly." Now that needs some understanding, because it left the early church thinking that he was going to come back right in their lifetime. And so they were expecting him. But again, they were expecting him without looking at the observable signs that he said needed to be in place before he would return. So they had the urgency, they had the expectancy, they knew he was coming back, but they got the timing of it wrong. And yet he has said throughout the ages, his word hangs out there, watch and be alert. So they certainly got that part right. That's the other side of the equation. We know he's coming back. We absolutely know he's coming back. And there are so many warnings from everybody in Scripture in the New Testament that wrote about it, including the Lord himself, saying, therefore, be on guard. Therefore, watch. Therefore, be alert. So we can know these two things. Now, there are two more things that we can know that help frame the times that we're living in. And I believe that there are two things that are going to increase as the time draws closer to the more exact moments of his return. And on the one hand, there are going to be scoffers. On the other hand, there are going to be a lot of people just filled with rumors. And so let's take a look at that first. We've got scoffers. Peter tells us in 2 Peter chapter 3, knowing this first. And so it's a good place for us to begin. That scoffers will come in the last days, walking according to their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. Now, oddly enough, I came across scoffers and skeptics in abundance when I was in seminary. That was about 20-some years ago. And the people were saying, well, everybody's saying he's going to come back, and he hasn't come back. And so even in the midst of Christian gatherings, there are going to be scoffers. And you need to know this so you can be on guard and not be drawn into that point of view, that skeptical, scoffing point of view that says, hey, we've heard about his coming. It's just not going to happen now. Things are go on as usual. Well, that's one of the signs that for those who are not watchful, it's going to seem as if things are going on as usual, as in the day of Noah. You may want to look for a teaching that I have out on as in the days of Noah, because that's one of the signs. An odd sign that it is. Things just going on as usual is a sign. It's not a sign for scoffing. It's a sign for being alert. And so on the one hand, we've got those who are going to be scoffers, and nothing will convince them. If they're unbelievers, they're just going to point to 2,000 years of Christians saying he's coming, he's coming, he's coming, and he hasn't come. And from their point of view, they have a legitimate right to laugh at us. Don't be drawn away by that. Don't even be drawn away by the Christians who are skeptics about the Lord's return, and especially skeptics about this time and season we're living in, my friends, because that time of his return is really drawing close. As I hope you stick with me in the series, you'll see that there are unprecedented signs, that undeniable signs that the Lord is coming back, perhaps even in our lifetime. So I'll get to that a few more segments down the road, but right now we're looking at the two things that companion with the first two. And the first is the scoffers, and the second is the wild rumors, the reckless rumors. Skeptics and scoffers and reckless rumor mongers running around. And Jesus said, watch out for this. He said in Matthew 24, if anyone says to you, here is the Christ, or there, do not believe them. In other words, there are going to be a lot of people saying the rapture is about to come, or Jesus is about to show up, and they'll be breathless, and they'll be excited, and they'll be pointing to this and that and the other. And Jesus said already, don't listen to that. Watch for the signs he's going to give us. And that's what I'll be explaining as this series goes on, as we get into the actual signs themselves. But I wanted to frame the whole debate by giving you these 4 things that we can know with an absolute assurance. Number 1, that Jesus is coming back. Number 2, and that goes along with this, that we need to be watchful. I'm going to do a whole series on what it means to prepare for the coming of the Lord. That should be coming out in the coming weeks. But for now, one of the signs of preparation is there's going to be an increase of scoffers. There's going to be an increase of people who are acting like he's never going to come back. And I think we're seeing that. It's even penetrated Christian circles. I think we're seeing that. And we're certainly seeing an increase of those who are reckless in spreading the rumors. Here's the Christ. There he is. Now is the time. And that's been happening ever since I became a Christian 35 years ago. And it is now like a merry-go-round that's picking up speed. There are more and more people, especially on the web, that are posting these wild rumors about the date and the time of the Lord's return, and it's about to happen here, it's about to happen there. As you continue with this, with me with this, you're going to discover that yes, there is a lot that can be known, and there are things that we can see with assurance, but there's no time and place for date setting. And so there you go. We've got things that we can know with assurance that frame the context for looking at the signs. We want to be able to look at the signs without being too skeptical and without being too breathless and eager and thinking that everything is a sign. And so, my friends, continue with me in this. I'm going to talk about the day and the hour versus the times and the seasons in the next teaching. I hope you'll be here for that. See you then.